You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive, Power Agent.
So, picture this. You've done, all the prep work.
Oh, yeah, the heavy lifting.
Right. You have spent weeks building trust, answering emails late into the night, and really demonstrating your expertise.
Yeah, you've put in the hours.
Exactly. And you are sitting across from someone and you are just about to win the opportunity.
Best feeling in the world.
It is. I mean, maybe it's a massive pitch for your agency or, an interview for a senior role or just a crucial new client. The vibe is fantastic.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Right. And then right at the finish line, they look at you completely deadpan and say, someone else can do exactly what you do, but for a lot less money.
Ugh, it is a universal stomach-dropping moment. The air just completely leaves the room.
It really is the worst feeling because in that split second, everything you've built over the last month feels like it's evaporating.
Oh, totally.
So today's deep dive is dedicated entirely to that specific, terrifying moment. We are unpacking an incredibly insightful article titled Defeating the Discount Trap, Training Agents to Sell Value.
This is such a good source.
It really is. Now, on the surface, the material we're looking at is explicitly written for real estate leaders.
Right, about training agents to compete with discount brokerages, like Redfin.
Exactly. But as we dug into the research, we realized the underlying psychology here is, it's an absolute masterclass for anyone in any field who has ever been forced to prove their worth.
Because the dynamic is identical, right? Whether you are selling a house or pitching a multi-million-dollar software integration or just negotiating a higher hourly rate for your freelance design work.
Yeah, the field doesn't matter.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The core problem remains consistent. The person across the table thinks cheaper means the exact same outcome, just for less money. They view your service as a commodity.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to extract the exact tactics and, the mindset shifts you need to make your invisible value crystal clear to anyone.
Love that phrase, invisible value.
We really want to give you the tools so you never lose on price again. To set the tone, there's this perfect quote from Warren Buffett right at the beginning of our research. He says, "Price is what you pay. Value is what you get."
It sounds incredibly simple when you say it out loud, doesn't it?
It really does.
But the gap between those two concepts, price and value, that is the exact battleground where deals actually live or die. If you can't bridge that gap in the client's mind, you lose.
You lose, yeah. So let's examine the anatomy of a lost sale, because to fix this, we have to look at the exact moment the battle is lost.
That's critical.
And spoiler alert for anyone who has ever blamed the market or their competitors, losing on price is rarely a pricing problem. It is almost always a training and communication problem.
Yeah, there's a painful, incredibly relatable scenario painted for us in the text.
Oh, it's so cringe-inducing.
It is. Imagine an agent literally standing on the doorstep. They've done the walkthrough. They've built rapport. The seller likes them and trusts them.
The deal seems practically done.
Right. And then the seller brings up a discounter. They look at the agent and say, "Look, Redfin does everything you do, but for a 1% fee, why would I pay you 3%?
Ouch. And the agent just, freezes, panic sets in.
Completely.
They end up mumbling something generic like, "Oh, well, we're better trained," or "We offer premium service," and they lose the listing right there on the doorstep.
Just evaporates.
Yeah. Let's break down why we're better trained. Fails so spectacularly. On the surface, it might be entirely true, but it sounds like a brochure.
Oh, absolutely. It's completely vague. And vague never wins tense negotiation.
Never.
The seller can't picture what better trained actually looks like in practice. It doesn't translate into tangible dollars in their pocket.
Yeah, right.
So instead of landing as a solid, undeniable reason to pay a higher fee, it lands as a defensive, desperate sales pitch.
And that pitch evaporates the second the seller starts comparing two actual concrete commission numbers on a piece of paper. And the most dangerous part of this interaction is what happens during the silence. The seller claims that the discount service does the same thing.
Right.
The agent fumbles, leaving that objection essentially unanswered. There's a long, awkward silence.
Which is deadly.
It is. In any negotiation, silence reads as agreement. The seller literally walks away believing the two services are completely identical, and the professional loses a deal they had essentially already won.
It's tragic, honestly.
But I want to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
If the seller already likes and trusts this person, I mean, they've had a great 2-hour meeting, they've connected over shared interests, they clearly gel, why does one awkward silence ruin the whole relationship? Doesn't that trust count for something?
Well, what's fascinating here is that trust does not automatically equal an open checkbook.
Oh, the good point.
Trust gets you in the door, but when the seller is suddenly faced with a hard financial decision, their brain's cognitive load spikes.
Right, they get stressed.
Under that pressure, they default to the only metric they can actually see and measure, which is price.
Because everything else the professional does is invisible to them.
Precisely. The real heavy lifting work, like the nuanced negotiation strategy, the late-night problem-solving, the ability to keep a deal from falling apart after a terrible home inspection, it is entirely invisible to a homeowner who's just comparing two marketing flyers.
Wow.
Because the agent cannot make that invisible work visible in that crucial high-pressure moment, the seller defaults to the number.
Which leads to the professional apologizing for their fee. The hesitation just bleeds through.
Yep.
They aren't sure how to articulate why they're worth the money, so they try to save the deal by shaving their commission. They willingly cut their own pay just to keep the deal alive.
It happens every single day.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if I am managing a team of people who are freezing up on doorsteps and fumbling your words, my immediate instinct as a leader is to write a bulletproof script.
Oh, of course.
I'd want to draft the perfect, undeniable comeback, hand it out, and make everyone memorize it. Does that actually solve the problem?
It's a very common instinct, but relying on memorized scripts is actually the enemy of value selling. Scripts crack under pressure.
It reminds me of watching a really bad community theater play.
Huh? Yes.
You can tell the actors aren't actually listening to each other. They are just standing there, visibly stressed, waiting for their cue to recite a line they memorized the night before.
Just waiting to speak.
Right. If the other person drops a line or changes the subject, the actor completely short-circuits.
That is the perfect way to describe it. When humans are stressed and defending your livelihood in a tense fee negotiation is undeniably stressful, our brain's fight-or-flight response kicks in. Rote memory is one of the first cognitive functions to degrade. You lean on a script, the client pushes back in a slightly unexpected way, and the script just vanishes from your mind.
You're left standing there with nothing.
Exactly. And even if you manage to remember it perfectly, scripts aren't rooted in genuine understanding. You end up sounding robotic like that bad actor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When you sound rehearsed, authenticity vanishes and trust instantly drains out of the room. It no longer feels like a collaborative conversation. It feels like you're trying to outmaneuver them.
The alternative presented here is a brilliant psychological pivot. We need to stop handing out scripts that live in the logical brain and disappear under stress.
Right.
Instead, we have to start training in metaphors.
Yes, metaphors are key.
Metaphors live in the imagination. They anchor us. When the adrenaline spikes, you might forget a 5-point bulleted list, but you won't forget a vivid mental picture.
This represents a massive leadership distinction. When your team starts cutting their fees because they lack the conceptual tools to defend their value, it doesn't just impact one isolated deal.
It spreads.
The entire culture of your organization shifts toward discounting. The market gets trained to expect less. And worse, your own people start believing their value is inherently negotiable.
It kicks off a race to the bottom.
A devastating race to the bottom. It erodes your profit margins, but more importantly, it absolutely destroys morale.
Wow.
There's a profound realization here. Confident teams sell value. Discounting teams sell desperation.
I love that framing. Confident teams sell value. Discounting teams sell desperation.
Yep.
So how do we actually build that confidence? How do we build that vivid mental picture for the client so they can suddenly see the invisible work?
Well, the research provides a concrete tool for this.
Built entirely around metaphor. Let's look at the walkway analogy.
This is the practical application of making the invisible visible.
Okay, so imagine two contractors are quoting a job to pour a new concrete walkway for your house.
Okay.
One of them submits a quote that is significantly cheaper than the other. To the homeowner looking out the kitchen window, both contractors appear to be doing the exact same thing.
Right, they look identical.
They measure the space, they put up the wooden forms, and they pour the wet concrete. On day one, both walkways look identical.
But the critical differentiator, the factor that actually determines if that walkway is going to survive the winter, is the base underneath.
Ah, the foundation.
Exactly, the gravel foundation. And that is a layer the homeowner will never see unless they are physically standing in the yard watching the crew dig the trench.
A thinner, cheaper base saves the discount contractor a ton of money today. But 3 years from now, when the ground freezes and thaws, that walkway is going to crack, heave, and completely fail.
Yeah.
When a discounter charges less, that money doesn't just magically vanish into the ether. It has to come from somewhere.
Always.
And it almost always comes out of the base. It comes out of the vital foundation the client can't see.
Which brings us to the most powerful reframe question you can possibly ask. When the client points out that the other guy is cheaper, you don't get defensive.
Right.
You ask, if they're so good at this, why are they charging less?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because think about what that single question does to the power dynamic in the room.
It changes everything.
It completely flips the script. You are no longer on trial, scrambling to justify your premium price. Instead, you've put the discounter on trial for their hidden quality.
It's such a brilliant pivot.
It reminds me of hiring a cheap web developer. I've seen this happen 100 times. A company hires a discount agency to build an e-commerce site.
Oh, I know this story.
On launch day, the website looks completely identical to the expensive version. The buttons work, the pictures look nice, but the code underneath, the base, is an absolute house of cards.
Spaghetti code.
Exactly. The database queries are messy, the security is lax. The second they get a massive spike in traffic on Black Friday, the whole thing crashes.
Ouch.
The client saved 10 grand on the visible surface, but they lost 100 grand because the invisible foundation failed under pressure.
That is a phenomenal parallel, and it highlights the psychology of this pivot beautifully. It moves the entire conversation off of the immediate price tag and completely onto long-term quality.
Right.
It forces the client to stop obsessing over the money they might save today and start focusing on the massive risk of the invisible work being skipped. It introduces legitimate doubt.
Like, what corners are they cutting?
Exactly. What is missing from their base?
The walkway analogy is brilliant for defending the foundation of your service. You can vividly picture the cracked concrete or the crashed website.
Definitely.
But a foundation is static. It doesn't quite capture the active, dynamic skill you bring to the table every single day. To explain your ongoing expertise, we have to look at the tools of your trade, which brings us to the Michelin star strategy.
Otherwise known as the chef analogy.
Right. So hand 2 master chefs the exact same kitchen, give them identical cuts of salmon, the exact same Japanese steel knives, the same copper pans, and the same ovens.
Even with identical resources, they're going to produce 2 completely different meals.
Totally.
The tools are identical, but the execution and the skill are worlds apart. In the real estate context, every single agent out there has the exact same MLS, the multiple listing service.
Right.
They all use the same lockboxes. They all print the same glossy yard signs. They are not competing on equipment. They're competing entirely on skill.
But wait, if I walk into a pitch meeting with a client and announce I'm the Michelin star chef of this industry and I refuse to cook like a discounter, I'm going to sound incredibly arrogant.
A little bit, yeah.
How do you actually use this concept without sounding like a completely out-of-touch joke?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you don't literally say those words to the client. The Michelin chef concept is an internal mindset shift for you.
Oh, I see.
It dictates how you educate the client. Arrogance is just saying, I'm better. Education is showing them how you use the tools differently.
So you pull back the curtain on the craft itself.
Exactly. You don't just say, I'll put it on the MLS. You say, everyone uses the MLS. But here's how I analyze buyer psychology to write property copy that creates bidding wars. Here's how I navigate a hostile inspection report so the buyer doesn't walk away. You explain your specific recipe. You are demonstrating that 2 people can have the same access to the same tools, but the mastery of those tools is what actually achieves the client's goal. It's showing them that the oven doesn't bake the souffle, the chef does.
That distinction between arrogance and education is huge. You are demystifying your own magic.
Exactly.
So we've established these 2 powerful metaphors. We have the walkway to explain the hidden base, and we have the chef's kitchen to explain the mastery of tools. But knowing these concepts theoretically isn't enough to survive the adrenaline of a real negotiation.
No, not at all.
Building this into a team's actual DNA requires a massive cultural shift.
Because a brilliant metaphor is entirely useless if you can't deliver it with absolute conviction while a client is staring you down.
Right. The biggest flaw in most teams is the complete lack of a shared language. You have a dozen different people out there just, improvising.
Remain it.
Yeah. A couple of natural salespeople might nail the delivery, but the majority will fumble it. And when everyone is improvising their value proposition, your company's win rate is basically a coin flip.
Consistency is a leadership job, not an individual talent. You cannot just hand your team an article on metaphors and hope they figure it out.
Obviously not.
Leaders have to actively run these reframes in their weekly sales meetings. They have to role-play the walkway analogy and the chef analogy over and over again. You create a safe environment to fail so that the delivery becomes second nature in the field.
And for the freelancers or solo entrepreneurs listening, this applies to you too.
Oh, big time.
You are your own leadership. You have to practice this out loud. Talk to your webcam, practice in the mirror, run through the objections while you're driving.
Nice reps. Get the reps in.
People who lean into this kind of rigorous practice are the ones who walk into an appointment genuinely expecting to win. They don't dread the moment the client brings up price. They are actively waiting for it because they know exactly how to handle it.
The core message that needs to be internalized, whether you manage 50 people or just yourself, is profound. You are not the expensive option, you are the right option.
You are not the expensive option, you are the right option. I love that.
When a client asks for a discount or threatens to go with a chimper competitor, that isn't a cue to shrink back, get defensive, or apologize for your rates.
Right.
It is an invitation to teach. It is a signal that they simply do not understand the invisible base of the walkway yet.
So what does this all mean for you right now? Whether you are selling luxury real estate, writing code, consulting for startups, or designing brand identities, the fundamental lesson is the same.
Yeah.
You must stop apologizing for your fee and start explaining the how. You have to have a systematic way to make the invisible sweat, strategy, and foresight that you provide completely visible to the person signing the check.
Because ultimately, conviction is what that nervous seller or that hesitant client or that highly skeptical board of directors is actually shopping for.
Wow.
When people are making large financial decisions, they are anxious. They want to be guided by someone who possesses absolute certainty in their own worth. Your job is to replace every ounce of apology with unshakable conviction.
It changes the entire energy of the room. You aren't defending your own bank account. You are protecting them from making a terrible decision.
Exactly.
You are protecting them from hiring the cheap web developer and crashing on Black Friday.
You are protecting them from a walkway that is guaranteed to crack.
To wrap up this deep dive, defeating the discount trap isn't about learning some aggressive, high-pressure closing tactic. Those tactics feel gross, and they crack under pressure anyway.
Yeah, leave those in the past.
It's about cultivating a shared language. It's about utilizing powerful visual metaphors like the walkway's hidden base and the Michelin chef's identical kitchen, and practicing them relentlessly until your invisible value becomes undeniably, brilliantly visible.
This raises an important question, and it's something I highly encourage you to mull over today.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about your own career, your own daily grind right now. If all your visible tools, your software subscriptions, your impressive job title, your daily routine tasks, if all of those were completely stripped away, what is the invisible base you provide that no discounter or cheaper replacement could ever replicate? Because until you can clearly name it for yourself, you can never expect anyone else to pay for it.
That is a phenomenal thought to end on. Find your invisible base. Stop apologizing for being the Michelin chef. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you next time.